Neil Tracy is here to talk to us about the new rugby rules. Neil, laws. My bad. The suggested changes to the laws are to try and make the game safer.
Yeah.
That's ostensibly what's happening here.
Yeah, it's all come from the World Rugby Player Welfare and Law Symposium, which was happening over the last few days. Now, these at the moment, I think it's that 8 kind of potential trial laws are emerging from it. We definitely aren't going to see them yet. What's going to happen is these 8 are pretty much going to be taken. A kind of a World Rugby, a review group essentially are going to look through them in detail, try find all the pitfalls in them, the potential pitfalls, see what could work, what couldn't work, and they'll narrow that down then, and anything that goes forward to be an experimental kind of trial would start from January. So we are a good while away from it yet. The big one though that came out of this, the big proposed change would be it's copying the 40-20 in rugby league. So what rugby union would be doing is their own version, the 50-22, which would be that if you kick the ball inside your own half and it bounces and goes into touch in the opposition 22, you will get that line out, whereas as opposed to now where it's the opposition line out ball. Right. Yeah. So the idea behind this is that there are so many players on the front line at the moment of a ruck, right across that offside line. It's pretty much a ruck and every other player, bar a full back essentially, who's back there. But if there's an incentive where you're just inside your own half that you can kick behind and potentially get a line out in the opposition 22 and a massive, try scoring platform, a couple of wingers are going to have to drop back. There's going to be less bodies on the front line. It's going to encourage attacking rugby.
Coming out of retirement.
Spiral kicks into the corner. It's obviously there's lots to be fleshed out in it. It's one of the proposals anyway. I'd like to actually see it given a go anyway.
Was this ever the case? Did you ever used to be able to kick the ball to touch and get your own line out apart from a penalty? Like in the 80s, 70s?
No, I don't think so.
Just that was our... Because my memory...
Well, no, you see, the one from the past would have been that they obviously got rid of... You can't bring the ball back into your own 22 anymore to kick it out, which is what would have been a big thing in the past.
My recollection of watching early 80s Six Nations, Five Nations games where Ireland would kick the ball to touch and we'd celebrate. You'd be like, yay! And
yeah, but back then as well, the lineup probably would have been a bit more of a contest.
Yeah.
Because you're obviously not lifting.
Yeah.
You
got a tall guy, you could probably win their ball quite a lot. So will we not just go back a little bit to that? The point, what they're saying is that
I think that's exactly what they want to do, because they made the point of saying that compared to the 1987 World Cup final, players on average are 12 kilos heavier at the moment. It's 76% of concussions in rugby are happening in the tackle. So what they want to do is
reduce the number of tackles.
Reduce the number of tackles, pretty much, yeah. There are way more tackles happening now than there would have been 20 years ago. So if you reduce the amount of that, you're reducing the amount of concussions that can happen. You're also, creating the opportunity for more attacking rugby.
So you basically need to have 5 people or however few people you can use, but you'll need to have deep-lying wingers who are trying to prevent the ball from going into touch.
Yeah, you really would. You'd need at least 1 extra player dropping back. If the ball's in midfield, you might even need 2 because you could go either side. But and probably a scrum half dropping back to prevent a little chip through the middle. So it's all about just keeping less players on the front line of defence.
Yeah.
And reducing the impact of the collisions as well.
What is so you had the 20-50 rule in
40-20.
40-20. So there's you can do this in rugby league at the moment.
Yeah. Now what I have seen a few people complaining about this morning, and it might be a valid argument, is that maybe 50-22 it might just be the wrong ratio. Maybe if you bring it back to your own 40 instead of the halfway line.
Yeah.
Because maybe having it inside your own half, it might just be a little bit too easy to get the ball out
on the halfway line. You can kick to inside the 22 and get a line out inside their 22.
Yeah, has to bounce obviously before it goes into touch. But maybe if you just bring it back 10 more yards, it might just make it a little bit more difficult.
Yeah.
But I'm sure that's the kind of thing that they'll be trying to flesh out themselves when they look further into it over the summer.
And so generally there's like they test these in the under-20 World Cups and things like that. Is there a specified plan for what might happen when we might see this being trialled?
Well, if we are going to see it, it would come in January. They'll look through it all now and kind of figure out the ins and outs of it all and what will and won't work. There are a couple of other bits that they're looking at as well.
Globally, it would just come in, that's it, rule change done, off you go.
Sometimes they might trial it, like we'll say, there's one here that they trialled last year in the under-20s where they gave out high tackle warnings. So maybe after the game, if they noticed particular players were standing up a little bit too much in tackles, not necessarily like swinging arms or anything like that, but just a little bit borderline, they'll give them a warning. If you get 2 of them, you're banned for a game. Okay. Now what happened in the under-20s championship last year was 11 players got a warning, nobody got a second warning. I think they've kind of said that the sample size maybe was a little bit too small, so they're going to look at it more again.
It's a bit like the black card coming in GAA and then everybody deciding, oh, can't give you a black card, it's too, like what, either, you know.
Yeah, and staying on cards as well, what they're actually looking at as well is that if a yellow card is given for dangerous play or, you know, a high tackle or something like that, then while that player is in the bin, a TMO can review it and have a look over it to see does it need to be bumped up to a red card. Because we have seen it before where a yellow card is given out and you're looking back at it going, you know, it's shoulder to a head or something like that. Yeah. That should really be a red. The TMO now will have it in his power to look through it and kind of recommend to the referee to go back and change his mind.
That makes perfect sense. And
the game's gone soft brigade are going to be absolutely squirming over it.
Oh, why? Like, here's the point. There are so many yellow cards that you go, that guy's really lucky, but it's been dealt with by the referee, citing commissioner can't. That's all nonsense. If you see something and you have the opportunity to fix it and you have somebody whose job it is to sit there and go, that should have been a red card, we made a mistake, fix it immediately so that it's not the next team who gets the benefit of that.
Yeah, we saw it a few weeks ago when Leinster played the Cheetahs at the RDS. Oxen Shea, the Cheetahs, was yellow carded for a tackle, shoulder to the head on Fergus McFadden, and Nigel Owens looked at it several times, gave a yellow card very quickly and didn't kind of go back and upturn it to a red. I think Inche got a 6-week ban after it. Like, you know, it was absolutely a red card offence.
Yeah, so fixing mistakes.
There are a couple of other little ones there. They're going to look at things like offside line, number of subs, committing players to the ruck. One interesting one as well, I saw in the piece in the Times this morning, it was mentioned, they're looking at introducing a scrum clock, a countdown clock on the scrum. Because at the moment there's 62 seconds on average per scrum, and
it's supposed to be something like.
Yeah, it does kill the momentum of the game and things like that. I would say though that putting kind of a countdown on it or a set time on it, that probably would actually go against player welfare, because you have something like the scrum where a collapsed scrum, something that's rushed, that could result in a broken neck. That could result in serious injury. You know, I'm sure there are other ways to tweak it around. Maybe if a scrum collapses after the first go or a scrum has to be reset, then the clock stops. It doesn't go back on until the ball is out in play again. It's not necessarily putting players under pressure to get this done as quick as possible, and you're not losing time off the game clock.
Yeah, so is the issue the time off the game clock, or is the issue that
it's just taking too long? And
it's killing everybody's sense of joy. It's like, oh, Jesus.
And what you do have sometimes as well is in the last 5 minutes, an attacking team, you know, there'll be a knee drop there, it might have to be reset 2 or 3 times, all of a sudden you've lost 2.5, 3 minutes of the game. You know, if it goes down maybe after the first go, you've lost 30 seconds, clock stops, and when the ball is out in play again, restart it.
Are you in favour of these generally?
I like the 50-22 idea. I would just, even if it turns out to be absolute rubbish, I'd like to just see it given a go.
Yeah.
At some level of rugby, just to see what we all think of it.
I mean, if you're a good kicking out half, you can now play until you're 60.
And also potentially a few more mauls. You know, rolling mauls towards the try line. I'm all in favour of that.
The Type 5 will have more content than ever next year.
Good stuff, Neil. Thanks for explaining all of that to us. That's pretty much all from us this morning.